Hey guys, Sandy here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Mixed Media. So this day we are going to be scrap lifting the fabulous MK gun. We are using her beautiful layout as an inspiration here. She's got lots of gears and things, as that is basically her signature style. And I'm not going to be doing gears. I'm going to be doing Mickey heads. I've got a couple stencils, some ink. I'll get some other things, so let's see what we can do. Alright guys, so I'm starting with the brick wall stencil from Scrapping Reflections, and the stencil might be live on the site today, or it might not be live until Monday, so there is that. Now this is a repeating stencil, just had to find the brick pattern that matched up exactly so that I could make it stretch from the very tip top of the page all the way down to the bottom. And then I'm also going to bring in the Mad About the Mouse stencil. I thought I was going to use this stencil a lot quicker than I did, but I decided to do some more layering and things on my background. So my photos are of me in front of the Carousel of Progress and also just the Carousel of Progress sign. Now I have a thing where every time I go to Magic Kingdom, I do take a photo with the Carousel of Progress. Usually someone takes the photo with me, but I was on a solo trip and nobody was really around to grab a photo. Plus, you know, we're masking, so people were funny about taking photos for each other. So I just did a selfie. I am just using some cardstock from my stash. I go ahead and trim it down to 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 because I just want it skinny little mats. So I'm kind of looking at this, figuring out where it's going to be. And then I'm like, oh, I need some more brick over here. So my blender brushes, I have a blender brush for each color, or almost a blender brush for each color, and I don't really clean it. I just let the ink sit there on the brush, and I haven't had any issues. Now, I don't use my Distress Oxides with the blender brushes. I do keep separate things for that, just because I don't want the properties of my regular ink pads and the oxides to mix and mingle together. I don't want that to happen. So I went ahead and added that chicken wire stamping over top of the bricks. Now, I don't really think you look at it and go, man, girl's got some chicken wire on her layouts. Like, what is she doing? Is she farming? No, I don't think that screams chicken wire whatsoever. I think it just adds another layer of texture without it actually being textured. So a lot of the times I think even myself, we get thinking like mixed media. Okay, I got to put some texture paste on here. I got to have this. I got to have that. Mixed media is literally just using varying types of media, you guys. You put a splatter on a page, hello, you're using mixed media. You ink on a page, hello, you're using mixed media. So like, don't get so overwhelmed by the words mixed media, because when you think about it, you don't have to do a whole lot to actually have a mixed media layout. I think we just get used to calling these big elaborate layouts mixed media layouts, when really somebody who has done some spraying or some spritzes or some splatters, they've done mixed media too. So I take that embossing card, that embossing folder, ink it up with some white ink, and then I go ahead and run it through my machine. That way I can have the implied texture and actual texture going on. Now I am just going to use my acrylic block here with some spray and some water to go ahead and do the kiss technique on top of my layout. Now, I find that using an acrylic block gives me a little bit more control because it is such a small little area that I am working with, and it gives me just more control over where my mixed media ends up. Now, here is where I'm going to bring in a slight little bit of actual texture. So I'm using Brutus Monroe Velveteen Glaze. Now, Velveteen Glaze is a texture medium, basically, that gives you a matte finish. And if you've ever touched it, it is like super hard flock. And people are like, what? And then they touch it and they're like, yes, that is super hard flock. So I'm just using a palette knife to go ahead and scrape my Velveteen Glaze through the Mad About the Mouse stencil. Now, I did not wait for my blue to dry. I did not even use a heat tool on it. So there is a little bit of color mixing because they're both water-based products. There is a little bit of color mixing where the orange and the blue kind of go into a little bit of a green. So if the color mixing is going to bother you, make sure that your mixed media layers are dry before you go ahead and put on the next one. I'm not too concerned. Now, in MK's gorgeous layout, she did have some paper layers and such things in the middle of where her mixed media is lying. Now, I cut out probably about 5 minutes of me fiddle farting around with this piece of paper and this laser cut lace from 49 and Market. I just could not get it to line up the way I want it to, and eventually it happened, but nobody needed to watch me mess around with that for a good 5 minutes. Nobody really did. So just like MK did, I'm going to go ahead and have this go on kind of like the left third side of my page. Now, I've already added more photos than she did, and that's fine because, you know, it's fine. Do what you want. So now I have these Mickey heads that you can see I punched out of the embossing foldered piece of paper. Fun fact, I had to stop punching out the Mickey heads because for some reason the Mickey head punch kind of broke. Like, I punched out 3 heads and went to punch out another one and it just failed. So I walked over and handed it to my husband, and I just went ahead and started scrapbooking the rest of the layout, and he fixed it for me. He actually had to take the entire thing apart and take out the metal pieces, and he had to file it down. For some reason, all of a sudden, one of the metal pieces had a burr on it, and like, just weird, right? So it was just weird. So anyway, he fixed that for me. Now, I pulled out these letter stickers, and I was just going to put COP for Carousel of Progress, but it looks like COP, and I don't want you to look at this layout and go, COP, what about a COP? No, it's Carousel of Progress. So I just decided to take 2 tile letter stickers and place that in between the C and the P so that you definitely see that it says C of P. And that's, I mean, that just might be a little bit weird too, but I'm fine with it, and it's going in my album, so it's all good. I decided that I needed a little bit more of that kind of bubbly dotted border that I placed behind the photos. I needed it on the right-hand side of the page too. It was feeling a little naked over there, and we don't want to do naked. So as you can see, my embossed area is still chilling right there, so my husband's still working on the punch. And I grabbed the little Mickey head punch, and I go ahead and punch out a bunch of those. Now, I'm going to use my Nouveau Deluxe adhesive to put these Mickey heads down. Fun fact, the Velveteen Glaze is still wet. The Mickey heads are still wet. I usually, I would say 98% of the time, don't wait for my mixed media to dry, and I just scrapbook over top of it. Usually. Because I'm kind of a lazy, impatient scrapbooker, and I just want to get it done. But there it is. So I've got those Mickey heads on. Voila, my husband was able to fix my Mickey head punch. I placed a couple more on the layout. And now I go into my stash for some little word phrases right here. And I'm going to put a word phrase over top of each large Mickey head. So I am doing it for continuity on the page. Because I think if I just did it on 1 or 2, the other Mickey heads look naked. They look like they're missing something, so I didn't want to do that. Now I've also got these rhinestone thingies, and again, I'm using the Nouveau Deluxe glue. I'm dotting them where I want the rhinestones to go. And I didn't want to use the yellow because I felt the yellow was too pale. And I didn't want to use the blue ones because I felt the blue ones had a little bit too much purple in them. So I end up going with the white ones. So this little rhinestone bin has 3 different sizes of each of the colors, and I don't make you watch me put all of them down because that would be boring. And then I'm going to go in and dot more Nouveau Deluxe adhesive around the Mickey heads because I'm going to add in the tiny heart confetti from my shop. This is actually currently out of stock. Well, it's out of stock when I'm doing the voiceover. It might be in stock Friday, which is today, or it might not be in stock until Monday. I'm not sure exactly when the shop update is going live, guys, but it will be there. So anyway, I'm using these tiny little heart confettis, and I am placing them down on the page as well. I think that they just add just that little bit of a finishing touch. So I'm going to go ahead and put those down. Now, I do have to say I am a right-handed person, but I am always impressed with myself that I can Nouveau Deluxe with my left hand. I'm kind of like, daggone, I am a bad A scrapbooker when I'm doing that. Now that is going to do it for this layout, you guys. MK, I hope you think I did your inspiration layout justice. Thanks, guys, for having me join the Mixed Media Mayhem crew. And check out all the links down below so that you can see what everyone else did with MK's inspiration piece. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys again real soon for another video.